The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. Daniel was already asleep. He'd gone to bed early, claimed a headache, kissed Claire on the forehead, and disappeared down the hallway. Claire wasn't tired. She rarely was anymore. She picked up his phone just to silence it. That was all. She wasn't suspicious. She wasn't searching for anything. She was just a woman standing in her kitchen in the dark, picking up her husband's phone to stop it from buzzing. But the notification on the screen stopped her cold. It was a calendar reminder. It said, C's therapy appointment, 2 p.m. Wednesday. And Claire froze because she did have a therapy appointment at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. She had never told Daniel about it. She put the phone back exactly where it had been, went to bed, lay beside Daniel in the dark, and listened to him breathe, and thought about every therapy appointment she'd made, how she'd done it through an app, paid with her own card, driven herself, told no one. There was no way he should know. She wasn't looking for anything. She just picked up his phone to silence it, and in 3 seconds, in the glow of that screen in her dark kitchen, her entire marriage became a question she didn't know how to ask. The next morning, Daniel made coffee, talked about a work project, asked if she wanted to grab dinner on Friday. He was warm, normal. He kissed her goodbye at the door. She smiled, said sure, watched his car pull out of the driveway. Claire Merritt was 31 years old, and by every measure the world could see, she was doing fine. She and Daniel had been married for 4 years. They owned a townhouse in a quiet suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio. She worked remotely doing UX design for a mid-sized tech company. She had a best friend named Mara who called every Sunday. She worked out most mornings. She made dinner 4 nights a week. On paper, her life looked like a checklist someone had mostly completed, but there was this feeling she'd been carrying for about a year. Low and constant, like a hum in the wall you can hear but can't find the source of. That's why she'd started therapy, in secret. Not because Daniel was controlling, not because she was hiding an affair or planning to leave. She just needed one thing that was hers. 1 hour a week where she could say, I don't think I'm happy, without having to immediately reassure someone that she was going to be okay. She hadn't told anyone, not even Mara, and yet there it was, on her husband's phone, in his calendar, her appointment. Claire wasn't a woman falling apart. She was a woman quietly holding herself together, barely, with one secret that belonged only to her. And somehow, her husband had it. Then she opened his phone. He'd left it on the counter. He did that sometimes when he was running late. She told herself she'd just check the calendar. Just that one thing. She'd look, find some simple explanation, and let it go. But the calendar wasn't just one entry. There were months of them. C's work deadline, Thursday. C's call with mom, Sunday evening. C's running route, morning. Her work deadlines. Her Sunday phone calls with her mother in Portland. Her running route. The specific loop through the park she'd settled into 6 months ago without ever announcing it to anyone. Her hands were shaking. She scrolled further back, moving through months, and the entries kept going. Detailed, precise, consistent. Like a log. Like someone had been quietly cataloging her life, her private life, and filing it away somewhere only they could see. She sat down on the kitchen floor because the entries didn't start recently. They went back almost 2 years. It wasn't just one entry, it was all of them. Her deadlines, her phone calls, her running route, her secrets. Months and months of a life she thought was her own, documented in her husband's phone like she was a subject being studied. She called Mara. She didn't explain on the phone, just said, I need you to come over, in a voice that made Mara not ask questions. Mara arrived in 20 minutes. She sat across the kitchen table from Claire, looked at the phone, scrolled through the calendar herself, didn't say anything for a long time. Then she looked up. Claire, who else has access to your accounts? Claire didn't understand the question at first. Then it landed. Your accounts. She pulled out her own phone, went to her Google Calendar, the one she used for everything, work, personal, appointments, checked the sharing settings. There was a second user with full access, an email address she didn't recognize, but the name attached to the account was hers, Claire M. Someone wasn't just watching her life. Someone had built a second version of it, an account in her name, access to everything she thought was private, and it had been running quietly in the background for almost 2 years. Mara was the one who thought to check the email address. It was a Gmail account, clairemerritt.secondary@gmail.com. Not creative, not hidden. They tried to access it, password protected, but the recovery phone number was visible, partially masked, just the last 2 digits. Mara looked at Claire. Claire knew immediately. It was her old cell number, the one she'd had before they got married and switched to a family plan. She knew the full number. She'd had it for 7 years. She got in. The inbox had over 300 emails, all automated, calendar syncs, app notifications, account confirmations, like the behind-the-scenes machinery of a life being quietly mirrored. But then she found a folder labeled Reference. Inside it, screenshots of her texts with Mara, her texts with her mom, a photo she'd taken of her journal, opened to a page she'd written 6 months ago. Voice memos she didn't remember syncing anywhere. She sat back in her chair. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't the behavior of someone afraid of being cheated on. This was something else. Mara said it first, quietly, because someone had to. Claire, does Daniel know you've been thinking about leaving him? Claire hadn't told Daniel. She'd written it in her journal. She'd whispered it to herself on long drives. She'd said it once in therapy. She looked at Mara. He's been managing you. It wasn't about catching her doing something wrong. It was about knowing everything she was thinking before she could act on it. Her husband hadn't been spying on her out of fear. He'd been staying one step ahead. Claire went quiet for a long time after that. Not the panicked, spinning quiet of someone falling apart. A different kind, still deliberate. She thought about the last 2 years, the way Daniel always seemed to know what she needed before she asked. The way arguments would shift, he'd say something that addressed the exact worry she hadn't yet voiced. The way she'd thought, he really knows me. The way that felt like love. It wasn't love. It was surveillance dressed up as intimacy. And she'd felt crazy. Actually considered that she was losing her mind because she'd sensed something was wrong without being able to name it. She'd gone to therapy because something felt off and she couldn't explain what. She'd kept secrets, not because she was deceptive, but because some instinct in her was desperately trying to keep one thing private, one thought unread, one corner of herself out of his reach. Her instincts had been right. She hadn't been falling apart. She'd been slowly, quietly suffocating in a marriage where she had no privacy, no interiority, no self that wasn't being monitored, and she'd been blaming herself for feeling that way. She stood up from the table. I'm going to need you to stay, she told Mara, and I'm going to need a lawyer's number. She didn't sound scared. She didn't sound angry. She sounded like someone who had just found solid ground after a very long time of not knowing the floor was missing. For 2 years, she'd felt like she was disappearing and blamed herself for it. Now she knew the truth. She hadn't been losing her mind. She'd been living inside someone else's control. And the moment she understood that, something shifted. She stopped being confused. She started being done. Here's what Claire's story forces us to sit with. The most sophisticated forms of control don't look like control. They look like a partner who always understands you, who knows what you're thinking, who gets ahead of your fears before you can voice them, who makes you feel so seen that you never notice you've stopped having thoughts you haven't shared. We talk a lot in American culture about toxic relationships in terms of what's visible. The screaming matches, the isolation from friends, the obvious red flags. We have checklists now, podcasts, terminology, but there's a kind of erosion that happens quietly, that wears the mask of closeness. That feels, from the inside, like being deeply loved, until the day you realize you can't find yourself anymore, and you don't know when you lost the thread. Claire had a good job, a nice house, a social life, a husband who remembered everything. From the outside, she had it together. From the inside, she'd been slowly disappearing. And the most important thing she did, before she found anything on that phone, before she knew there was anything to find, was keep 1 hour a week that was hers. One small secret, one locked door inside herself. That door saved her. The most dangerous kind of control is the kind that feels like love. And the most important thing you can protect in any relationship, in any life, is the part of yourself that belongs only to you. Claire almost lost that, but she held on to one small door. And when it mattered most, that door was the way out. Claire changed her locks on a Thursday. She'd spoken to a lawyer on Tuesday. She'd had a long, quiet conversation with her mother in Portland on Wednesday night, the kind of conversation she'd been afraid to have for months. And it turned out, her mother had been waiting on the other end of it the whole time. Daniel came home on Thursday evening to a locked door and a note. She didn't write much, just that she knew, that she was safe, that he should speak to her lawyer. She wrote it calmly because she felt calm. That surprised her. She'd expected rage or grief or the shaking kind of fear that had been her constant companion for the last week. Instead, there was just this steadiness, like a compass that had been spinning for 2 years and finally found north. She stayed at Mara's that night. They ordered Thai food and watched something stupid on Netflix. And at one point, somewhere around midnight, Claire laughed, genuinely, unexpectedly, at something Mara said, and they both went quiet for a second after it, because Claire hadn't heard herself laugh like that in a long time. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed the sound of her own life. 6 months later, she moved to a smaller apartment in a different part of the city. She kept going to therapy, openly now, on her own calendar, no secrets required. She ran the same loop through the park every morning. She called her mom every Sunday. She kept the journal. She wrote in it every night. And not once, not for a single second, did she wonder if someone was reading it. That freedom, she decided, was the most expensive thing she'd ever earned, and she intended to keep it.
She didn't burn her life down in anger. She rebuilt it quietly, steadily, on her own terms. And somewhere in that smaller apartment, with her journal open and no one watching, she found what she'd been missing for 2 years: herself. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like and subscribe for more stories like this, because everyone deserves to know your inner life belongs to you.